Okay, welcome to Monday, the 1st of February. And today we're looking at, can I write an information text? We're finishing off our writing from Friday, and we're doing a section on Roman language and numbers and Roman cities as well. But just to start us off, this is a quick recap, really. We haven't covered it for a little bit, but we're looking at main clauses and subordinate clauses. So if you take a complex sentence like the one below, Nadia was extremely tired because she had been swimming all day. That has two parts to it. It's got two clauses. It's got a main clause and a subordinate clause. And the difference is a main clause makes sense on its own. It could even be a sentence. If you put a full stop at the end, it would be a sentence. Whereas a subordinate clause starts with a subordinating conjunction. And because it starts with that, that means that it doesn't make sense on its own. So it's a subordinate clause. So in this sentence, Nadia was extremely tired. That's our main clause. It makes sense on its own as a sentence. Nadia was extremely tired. Our subordinate clause starts with because, that's subordinating conjunction, and that means that it doesn't make sense on its own because she had been swimming all day. Often there's a comma in a complex sentence between the main clause and the subordinate clause. So on this next slide, that might really help you to work out where the main clause is and where the subordinate clause is. So have a look at these three. Can you identify what the main clauses are? What bits of those sentences make sense on their own? And the subordinate clause. So the subordinate clause starts with your subordinating conjunction. So if you can find that, then you're well on your way to finding the subordinate clause. And then it doesn't make sense on its own. And often there's a comma between the two. You can see in those last two. So just pause the video and have a go at that now. Okay, so here are our main clauses. So our main clauses here are: the kangaroo went to the shop, Simon and his friends went to the park, and ladybirds are fearsome predators. So you've got three main clauses there. They make sense on their own. And then the subordinate clauses, you can tell they all start with a subordinating conjunction. So they start with because, since, and although. So we've got because he needed an umbrella, since the bell went early, and although they don't look it. So all of those three don't make sense on their own because of those subordinating conjunctions. Okay, so today we're looking at the last two sections of our information text. So hopefully you got some notes from last Monday on Roman language and on Roman cities. Or you can look back on the website that we got those from. But if not, I've got some notes here. So here are my notes on language and numbers, and here are my notes on Roman cities. So you can use these if you want today. That's absolutely fine. Or you can use a mixture of these and your own notes. That's fine. So what we're looking at is we're using some fronted adverbials. That's the key thing we're looking at today, making sure you can use those. Here's some examples of some. Again, we use these the last couple of days, haven't we? You've seen this before. Here's some examples of fronted adverbials we could use to show when something happened, to show where something happened, or to show how something happened. Now, the other day when I used these, I think it was, on Friday, I used very much these ones from this grid here. But today I'm going to use some slightly different fronted adverbials. Firstly, to give you some ideas of other ones you could use, but also to see if you can spot ones when they're not necessarily ones that are from this grid. But once again, every fronted adverbial always has a comma after it. So here's my language and numbers one. So again, I've always started with what happened before the Romans got here, then what the Romans did, and then what happens nowadays, what we're left with nowadays as a result of the Romans being here. So in ancient Britain, few people could read or write. The Romans spoke and wrote down their laws in Latin, and when they arrived, some people in Britain started speaking and writing it too. In modern times, we have many words that come from Latin, such as exit and pedestrian. As well as this, some clocks have Roman numerals on them, and some £1 coins have Latin writing around the edge of them. Decaset tamen means glory and protection, for example. Okay, so I don't know if you could just have a pause and see if you can spot the fronted adverbials that I've used this time. I think there's three of them. And so hopefully these are the fronted adverbials you've spotted. So in ancient Britain, in modern times, and as well as this. Okay, I'll have a look at the next one. So that's my language and numbers one. So you can use that paragraph, and you can use my ideas. You can use that to help you. Here's my paragraph I've written on towns and cities. So once again, see if you can spot any of those fronted adverbials that I've used there. Okay, so we've got in AD 43, on arrival, nowadays, and not surprisingly. So it's really to recognize these fronted adverbials because they've got commas after them every single time. So I just read it through. So once again, I've started with what happened before the Romans got here. So in AD 43, the Celts in Britain lived in small villages. Then what the Romans did, so on arrival, the Romans introduced the idea of living in big towns and cities. They laid their towns out in a grid with a big market square in the middle called a forum. Then I move on to what's happening nowadays, what the Romans have left behind. Nowadays, many Roman towns still exist, such as Manchester and Gloucester. If a place name has Cester, Chester, or Castor in it, it is almost definitely Roman. Not surprisingly, London was a Roman city too, although the Romans call it Londinium. And there you go. So that's your task for today, to finish off those last two paragraphs and to put them into the layout there onto your sheet there. Now, I haven't got any more sort of time this week because tomorrow we're moving on to something else. So the diagram and the did you know box and maybe that picture of that Roman road, if you've got a few minutes spare this week, kind of fill those in, color that in, make it look colorful, nice colorful title, things like that. So just to make it look kind of pretty and like really nicely well presented. So you can do all those pictures and color and everything sort of later on this week if you've got some spare moments. But hopefully you've got all the writing done there today. And you can use anything from this video, just go back and pause it. Any of those ideas you can use for this thing today. So hopefully I'll see lots of great non-chronological reports or information text. And tomorrow we're going to start something completely different.